Hey guys, so here we are again with another Druid, a Restoration Druid specifically. This is going to be a guide on how to heal, how to get the correct stats, what gear you should be getting, what specs to run, PvP talents to run, and what comps to run in PvP, specifically 3v3, 2v2. Yeah, and what builds I recommend now. I just want to state I'm not the best Resto Druid. I did get 2.1 in Season 4 of Shadowlands, and I've got 1900 this season. My rating's gone down because I've just been playing with Twitch followers. So anyway, nevertheless, let's get started. I hope this helps people, and I hope from this people will be more likely to pick Resto Druids. The more healers we have in the game, the better. I honestly believe if you've got the right mindset to any character, you can get good at it. It's just a case of finding someone that is like yourself. So don't beat yourself up if when you start you're not very good. You need to start somewhere, and most of all you need to have patience with this game. I've played Restoration Druid now for probably 4 or 5 seasons. However, this is like my second season where I'm really trying to grind. My targets are I want to get over 1800 in solo, and I want to get 2.1k in 2. So yeah, I've still got quite a bit to go, but I am fairly geared. Anyway, let's get into the guide. So first of all, Restoration Druid, you're a healer using nature spells. In abundance, you've got so many spells known as HOTS, healing over time effects, healing over time spells. And what you basically want to do is you want to ultimately put HOTS on yourself and your teammates to heal them. You don't really have any instant heals, very few. So as a druid, it's all about planning. So the positives of a restoration druid is that you have lots of mobility, you have lots of different forms, lots of different spells that you can utilize, movement speed, dash, you can stealth. So mobility wise, you're pretty strong. You've got a lot of slows, you've got a lot of stuns depending on what your builds are, and your defensives are quite good. But it is the downside of that is that you have to plan and you have to ensure that you keep up these abilities and constantly on the lookout, because I will be honest, this patch, getting trained as a resto druid, it's very easy to get killed if you get caught off guard. It's happened to myself many, many times where I've had a DH, he's caught me on 40 HP, and I'll go barefoot and put all my hots on me, and he still manages to get me down. And these are with over 30% verse. So you do have to plan, you do have to really be strategic as a druid, and it is quite a hard class to play. There's a lot to know, a lot to do as a druid, so please bear this in mind before you're starting. But it is one of the best 2v2 classes, and there's a lot of versatility in the play styles. So let's talk about talents first of all. So this is at the moment is my 2 build. Now I run this build because at the moment I feel like I'm quite weak, and I get focused a lot, particularly in this meta where melee damage is big on paladins, DHs, monks especially. It's kind of crazy. So I run Rake when we're in stealth, and as you can see, I've kind of got Heart of the Wild. I've got Ursine Vigor. This is nice, especially when you're switching in and out of bear form. I'm running Bash, and I am running Well-Honed Instincts. And then I've got the Thick Hide, Matted Fur, kind of all these things, these small things that do help me obviously increase my survivability. So this is my 2s build. This is my main solo shuffle build, which I've been messing around with at the moment. I definitely prefer this one. Honestly, the new Rising Light, Falling Light talent isn't that good personally. Maybe I'm just not using it properly, but honestly, 3% increase in heals, is that really that much of a big deal? Probably not. So I've not spec'd into it. I've actually put it in Nature's Virgil, but if I wanted to, I could put that in there and then take that out of Nature's Virgil just to get some extra damage. But I quite like this. It's on a 1.5 minute cooldown, and if you've got all your huts on your teammates, it can be really nice. Photosynthesis for freeze. I mean, this is pretty obvious. Circle of life and death rather than deep focus. Undergrowth, so you can do 2 targets at once. If you're not running this, I don't quite know what you're doing. Honestly, running broccoli, there's just no point at the moment. I mean, the tree was good, but it consumes your mana so fast. And germination, you do want those 2 rejuice. So yeah, these are talents. I will post both my 2 build, 2v2 build, and my solo shuffle / free build in the chat. Now you can, I just want to point out, you can take stuff away. So say for example, if you're playing with a caster, the caster 9 times a 10 is always going to get focus. So if you're playing with a warlock, one thing that you could do is you could take that away, you could take that away, you could put the points in here like that, and you could kind of go something like that. And then this way you've got maim, so you can maim the healer, so you can, I don't know, rake the healer, maim the DPS, or bash the DPS. Honestly, you know, there are many different things you can do. Personally, I kind of like that because I think if I'm alive, I'm generally going to keep the DPS alive, so this is how I tend to play. In terms of comps you can play, I'm going to start this off early by saying this. Comps you can play in 2v2s, my experience, the best ones are, and people may disagree with me, but first of all, in terms of Zug Zug and late dampening, Warrior Restoration Druid, that's what I got first 1800 with, is actually really good. The Warrior needs to know how to kite and how to play and when to line, because you can't just go in and then you get LOS'd and then the DPS blames you. Trust me, this happens. This is the World of Warcraft mindset of the average player at the moment. Survival Hunter Druid, another really good composition. When the hunter traps, you want to bash the DPS or rake the DPS, and then bash off the trap, and then into clone ×2. The chances are the DPS will pressure the hunter, so you won't get the second clone off, but just getting that clone off gives you such a good head start. And the hunter has to know how to kite, because they are very, very squishy, but a good one will play to the strength of the druid, and it's probably the best 2v2. Assassination Rogue is another good one, and Affliction Lock or Demo Lock are 2 other really good ones. So those are the 2 comps. In terms of 3v3, I think Enhancement Shaman Warrior is really good, or DK Warrior, or you can do Shadow Play where you can have Affliction Lock and Shadow Priest. The pressure can be insane. However, you may be focused in this comp, but your teammates have a really, really good peel, so I really like to play that. I'm yet to play that this season. My frees have just been random groups, so yeah, not doing particularly well. So that's comps, that's talents, PvP talents. These are your essential ones: Keeper of the Grove, Focus Growth, Reactive Resin. The exceptions are, if you're going to run into melee cleave, take Fawns, because I mean, the priest is probably going to be so busy healing, he's probably not going to dispel you unless you're on the back foot. If you're running 2s and you're playing against a druid, I would take High Winds, or if you're against a DK, this can be really good. Remove all snare effects. Honestly, otherwise, Deep Roots can be good if you're with a survival hunter and you want to just keep rooting the DK. Essentially, but otherwise, honestly, guys, the other talents aren't even worth looking at. And you take this if you're playing in an RBG. Excuse me. So now let's move on to gear stats. What do we want? So you can see I'm actually running 25% verse. Now what you got to remember is when you get the 4 set, guys, you are going to have pieces that don't have versatility on. This is an important consideration when you are gearing up. I would aim for 30% versatility. Don't forget, when you do go in bear form, you do with this talent. I can't remember. There is a talent that gives you in bear form, that gives you like an extra versatility. I can't remember where it is, but yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a talent somewhere. And you know, with Heart of the Wild, you've got that increased stamina. So yeah, that's kind of what I would do. Your specs, generally, you want more haste and mastery. I would aim for 20% haste. Anything above 15% mastery is acceptable. Personally, I prefer the mace and the one hand just because they both have versatility and one has haste, one has mastery. Most of your gear, honestly, should be verse haste, verse mastery. For the rings, you can go. I've got this one. It gives me loads of haste, loads of mastery, and then the second one I've got mastery. You can see what the abilities do. So your healing is increased by 15% for each of your restoration heal over time effects on your target. So basically, the more hots you have on the target, the more healing you're going to do with that regrowth, that NS. And the haste increases spell casting, so your clone's going to be faster, and increases the speed of your hots. So you can see it kind of comes off. So that's kind of your gear. I wouldn't run this trinket. I just haven't bought the one. It's one that procs your mastery. That's probably the best one. Can't remember what it's exactly called. So yeah, now we've run over gear. We've run over kind of the stats that are important. I'll just quickly show. However, I will link my character in War Armory. I also do stream over at twitch.tv/insightfultv. So please be sure to check me out. Obviously every follow does help. So I think the next thing, now we've covered the talents, we've covered the comps, we've covered specializations. Now what we should probably talk about is healing rotations. Now honestly, a druid is not the easiest, so I'm just going to, just so you can see this, pre-made groups, I'm going to show you. Actually no, I can just do this on myself. So the way I like to heal as a druid, and I always prioritize life bloom, 2 life blooms over every other spell. Now the reason I prioritize 2 is because honestly that third one really doesn't do a whole lot more. So if I show you, can see it's doing 7.5k at max. So if I show you 2, look at this. So watch how much it's going to do when we kind of get under 10 seconds, or when it gets to max. See, so 300 more health. So honestly, just having 2 life blooms on is fine. You're going to min-max a little bit more because that 6% is not an awful lot more when it comes to that. The thing to remember about your life bloom, guys, is that on 5 seconds, you want to make sure you then reuse it on yourself. So I will show you the add-on that I use, and the reason is because this then affects bloom. So you see I got like a big 55k, so let me just show you here again. So I'm just going to go into pre-group, start group, test. Okay, I'll just put that in just so you can see. So now I've got this weak aura add-on. Again, I will share this in the description so you can see it's ticking down. I've got 3 stacks. This icon will glow up when I need to press it. You see there, it's glowed up, and then I use it, and then I get a big heal. Okay, now that bloom is so good. It's basically a free regrowth. So you always want to try and keep free life blooms on yourself and another target. Now the next thing is how do you what hot should you prioritize? How should you prioritize them? So life bloom should be first, and it should be double regrowth. Then it should be adaptive swarm into Cenarian Ward, and then when the Cenarian Ward procs, you then extend it with Swift Mend. Now another little tip that I'm going to give you is don't instantly use your Soul of the Forest. Try and wait for your team to take a lot of damage, and then proc Nature Swiftness, because you're going to get a humongous heal from that. Use Overgrowth after you come out of a CC if you're CC'd at the start and you need to catch up, or if you're anticipating your team taking a lot of damage and you've not got time to get your hots on. So for example, you hear a Monk Burst, an Enhancement Shaman, does a huge burst. These are the sort of things that you need to be keeping an eye out. In terms of opening in a 2s comp, you always want to try and bash or rake the healer if you can, while your teammate's doing DPS. Try and, for example, let's say I bash a guy here. The DPS is fighting over here. I bash the healer here. Try and line the DPS when you're doing the clone. This is like super important just to ensure that you don't get stunned and other things. So let me show you simple healing rotation. So you're going to start off with Life Bloom, and then you're going to rejuve. You're then going to Swift Mend. This is what I like to do in Arena. And then you're going to instant rejuve from that. So then you've already got a 17k health, which is absolutely insane. And then what you're going to do, so your DPS is probably engaged in the fight. Swift Mend is just coming back up. You're going to Swift Mend, and then you're going to instantly rejuve. And what you will find, or what you should find, sorry, is that your rejuvenation... so let me show you here, if we do it again. So we're going to Swift Mend, then we're going to instantly rejuve. I'm not sure why that's not working. But you can get it, so you can get both rejuvenations as like a 17k 17k hot. So just let me try it again. So let me just get that off and that. So we're gonna rejuve. That's that, and that's that. So then if I then wait for it again, just wait 5 seconds, just so you can see how this is done, because I used to do this last season. Then that, and then that. I'm not sure why that's not working. Anyway, it is possible, but that's kind of how you want to do it. You always want to make sure you adaptive swarm before your scenario mode, because there's travel time on adaptive swarm. Also, using adaptive swarm, if you've got a melee DPS that's running in, as there is travel time to them, is really, really good. Like I say, hold your nature swiftness for really big damage. Your Iron Back is not going to save someone, so try and, again, like I said, the Druid is all about planning. Try and use that before big CDs, so get yourself Omnibar, follow this tutorial I've got for how I track CDs. Other things that are really good, go in stealth whenever you can. Keep an eye on enemy stuns, because as a Druid, if your huts go down, okay, or if your huts are dispelled, you're going to go behind. Drink at every opportunity, so I'll show you some macros. As a Druid, what I tend to do is don't just sit behind a pillar and stealth and drink. Stealth and go a little bit away from the pillar, like so, and then drink. Yep. Obviously, make sure you're in that stealth. Make sure they can't see you, because what you'll find is like DKs or shamans, they'll put a totem or they'll put a curse behind here, or any spell you'll use in an AoE attack, and you're going to get straight out. So this is really important. Innovate early into a match. Don't innovate like after 2 minutes. You want to get innovate off early, because it's on a 3-minute CD. Trust me, you will thank me for that. Other things to think about: if you're running into a Beastmaster, a Decay, a Monk, take Mass Entangle. I prefer Mass Entangle anyway, just for Ursula's Vortex. Also, if you're playing where you know you're going to get focused, I would tend to take Incap unless you're against a Feral Druid that's just going to change forms. Try and preempt to everything. Like I said, this is the best way. In terms of kiting, when you're in trouble, the main thing you need to do is you need to keep an eye on where the DPS position are. As soon as they run towards you, instantly switch bear. You're going to bark skin, and then you're going to run away. Honestly, before you start pressing your heels, what I would do, stampeding raw and be running around the pillar. And what you want to do is you want to try and get to a point where you're going like that, so it's really easy to juke them. Kind of start heading around the other way and then go like that. I use WASD as a direct strafe, and then kind of move rather than move around like that, I kind of have it so I can really easily just strafe left and right. This just allows me to move better. Honestly, try not to go in the open. Pillar is much better. You want to change out of forms a lot to get rid of snares, but I'm going to show you some macros for that now. Anyway, let me show you some macros. These are really useful macros, which I think you should definitely use. You should definitely need. So first of all, there's this charge macro. This is great because it lets me charge at an enemy, but also if I hover my mouse over a teammate, I will charge them. It's great for avoiding a hunter's trap. Innovate on yourself. This is another essential one. This is a really good one because you can use it to rake an invisible target or a rogue. I don't use any of them. Wild charge, that's another one. So cancel aura. So this is brilliant because what this macro lets you do is it lets me come out. So watch this in one global, go in the form, and then come out instantly in one global. So that is a really powerful add-on macro, and that lets you obviously go in and out of form. And when you're kiting, trust me when I say you're gonna want to do that. Sometimes it can be really good to run Tireless Pursuit because this is so OP, because when you're trying to get out or away from an enemy, it's so good. But I'm yet to see it as a better option than Renewal and Hat of the Wild. So other macros I've got. Nature Swiftness with Regrowth. This is super important. Like I said, when you do get that NS, and you do have this, you can, if you've not got Nature Swiftness, you can Regrowth. That is absolutely fine. You do still get a absolutely enormous heal, but you've also got to remember that your scenario mode can't be dispelled, and you do want to wait until it procs, goes down to 6 seconds. You then instantly Swift Mend, and also another thing I've not mentioned is Nourish. When you've used free regrowths, you get an instant Nourish, and that is huge. So you only want to use Nourish if you've got several hots on yourself. That's important to mention. So yeah, back to the macros. Just I'm getting sidetracked. This macro is great. It lets me drink. I also shout I'm drinking, so like this, so my team knows. Life Bloom myself, as we know in twos, if you keep Life Bloom on yourself, you get 10% haste. Iron Back, Party 1 and 2, that's good. Entangle, Cyclone, Focus Cyclone. I have this for my Cyclone, so it tells the party member, if I'm not in chat, who I'm targeting. Vortex, I say I'm using Vortex, and this means I can use it without having to double click, so just save a second. Thorns, targeting myself, everyone else. Nature's Cure, target myself. Honestly, these are all and a Prowl macro, but I don't actually really play with that. But honestly, guys, these are all the essential macros, I think. If this guide has been helpful and you've found this is wanting you to play Restoration Druid, please pop in the Twitch. Again, the link will be in the description, and just come say hi, ask me questions. I'm more than happy to help, or even discuss specs, answer questions, or even take tips myself. Like I say, I'm not an expert, I'm just trying to help those new players. Anyway, guys, peace out. Hope you enjoyed the video.